Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks. As we were just noted, that we are Peggy and Dana. We're from Lenovo. Thanks for coming today, and thanks Dscout for having us. We're going to be sharing some of our experiences with accessibility research in a framework we've been working on that we've been calling Universal Design for Research. And here's just a quick overview about what we're going to be covering today, a little bit of background about Lenovo's mission for smarter technology for all, how we've been moving more towards a more universal design for research, some examples of our approach and what that's looked like using the Dscout app when conducting studies with individuals with disabilities, and then some learnings and outcomes from this work. First, we're sharing some information on Lenovo's commitment to diversity and inclusion. We believe that technology is smarter if it improves human outcomes. Smarter technology is human-centered technology. And our mission is to make smarter technology for all. At Lenovo, it's important to us for everyone to be able to equally access and experience our products and content, and we know that diversity drives innovation. To support this mission, leaders at Lenovo established the company's Product Diversity Office in 2020, which has been the authority on embedding diversity and inclusion into the processes of product design and development. And through the Diversity by Design review process, products are validated for inclusive design by inclusive design experts at Lenovo to ensure usability for a diverse customer base and to minimize any inherent bias. You can read more about that process in the field report that Dscout published earlier this year about that. So with this in mind, we've also been challenging ourselves to think more about how to make our research practices more inclusive. We've worked on several projects over the last year with users who have different kinds of disabilities, and we've learned and continue to learn a lot. We were inspired by the concept of universal design and thinking about our own research design. So that concept that was first conceived of by Ronald Mason in the 1980s that states that universal design is design that's usable to all people to the greatest extent possible without any need for adaptation or specialized design. So building on Mason's concept of UD, we look to universal design for learning. I have an education background, so this seemed to kind of fit really well. And this is a framework that was developed by neuroscientists at the Center for Applied Technology, Special Technology at Harvard. It's called CAST, they're education researchers. And this framework suggests offering learners multiple means of engagement to tap into their interests and motivate them to learn, multiple means of representation to give learners various ways of acquiring information and knowledge, and then multiple means of expression and action to provide learners alternatives for demonstrating what they know. The folks at CAST tell us that the framework offers an approach to address learner variability and suggests purposeful, proactive attention to the design of goals, assessments, methods, and materials. So when we think about UX research, we are looking for learning opportunities, absolutely. And to reach individuals who have different needs and experiences, we need to focus on participant variability and the methods we use to reach them and explore answers to our questions. So with UDL in mind, we've been playing around with this framework and attempting to tease out what this might look like for our research. We've taken the three main concept areas, representation, expression, and engagement, and have applied them to our own research design and practices. So for us, that meant offering multiple means of representation to give our participants various ways of acquiring information and knowledge, different ways of expressing and providing participants alternatives for demonstrating what they know, and then multiple means of engagement to tap into their interests and motivate them to share with us. So for our research practices, this has meant recruiting across a spectrum of disabilities, giving participants various ways to acquire information, and giving them ways to represent their self-identity accurately. For expression, then giving individuals with disabilities alternatives for participating in ways that they can share their experience. And then also for engagement, to provide an environment where they feel really welcomed and encouraged and comfortable in sharing their experiences with us. So we're sharing some examples of how we tried this approach on two studies we did on the Dscout platform. The first was with individuals with visual impairments, or VI, last year. And the most recent was on a study we partnered with on Dscout that Karen Eisenhower mentioned a little bit earlier today, with individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. Most of the examples you'll see today are from that study. But our goal is to learn more about their experiences and their technology, and experiences with their technology for work, for learning, and for their personal use, to uncover any challenges or obstacles they were experiencing with their technology. So for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing's innovation study, we used Dscout's diary tool to develop a multi-part mission. First, we asked scouts to give us a guided tour of their tech setup. Then we asked them to inventory their devices and rate them for accessibility. And then we asked them to give us some examples of both good and bad design as it related to their disability. And then finally, we asked them about some challenging environments and how they managed those as that related to their hearing loss. So this particular diary design was based on the structure we used last year for the study we did with individuals who have visual impairments, which had the same goals of shedding light on their tech experiences based on their vision loss. So after this diary mission, we then selected scouts for follow-up in-depth interviews for a deeper dive into each of these areas. So the roadmap we ended up with following looked like this. We parsed this out into key stages: preparing, recruiting, conducting, distributing, and learning. Peggy's going to be highlighting some of these, but here's just a larger overview. So we did a lot of desk research on our targeted population, where we tried to learn as much as we could about their culture, their needs, preferences, and barriers that they experienced. We worked closely with Dscout to recruit across the spectrum of hearing loss. And then we offered choices on how, for our scouts, on how to participate, and provided accommodations as needed. For distributing, we made our deliverables as accessible as we possibly could. And then in terms of learning, this was the big one for us too, in terms of our research operations, where we tried to apply all of what we learned, right? From doing pilot testing, and then also thinking about ways to adapt with the tools that we needed to, a lot of times on the fly, in order to meet those needs. It was really important to us to have individuals in our studies from a wide spectrum of disabilities. For both studies, we did a lot of research to educate ourselves about the different degrees of types of visual impairments and hearing loss. We had scouts in our study who fell along a wide spectrum. On the left, on this graphic, demonstrates the number of individuals who participated who were on one end of that spectrum, who identified as blind, and then on the other, who told us they had low vision. For the Deaf and Hard of Hearing study, we had participants who had moderate to profound hearing loss, and some who used American Sign Language. Here are a few examples of questions we asked the scouts so we could better prepare and offer them an accurate way to identify and express themselves for participation in the study. We asked them to first self-identify their disability, accounting, especially for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing community, cultural, being part of that cultural community, the deaf community. We asked them about their preferred ways of communicating in a virtual environment, included choices like using assistive technology, lip reading, sign language, interpreters, and the like. And in an effort to really better understand the impacts of their disability in the early stages of the study so that we could prepare to offer accommodations, we asked them to tell us about how their disability impacted their ability to use their computer. Now I'm going to turn it over to Peggy to talk a little bit about recruitment.
Thanks, Dana. So we want to recruit across a spectrum of disabilities so that our sample may represent the target population more accurately. Take the DHH study for an example. Although we can find enough participants who fulfill our recruiting criteria, it's not easy to diversify the profiles. So other than the demographic information that's already being collected by the Dscout platform, we also asked about people's degree of hearing loss, preferred ways of communication as shown in the right side picture, assistive tools they use, the age since their hearing loss, all with the goal of recruiting people across the spectrum of disabilities. Since we only have 5 participants in the pool who identified as having profound or severe hearing loss in the beginning, we conducted another round of recruitment. And in the end, we recruited 23 participants in total who are of different levels of hearing loss and use a mix of assistive technologies. 7 out of the 23 participants communicated with us primarily using American Sign Language. Throughout our study, we always try to provide our participants with more choices. So in the screener, we gave participants a choice between a video or a written response as shown in the left side picture to share their experiences, considering that there are individuals who don't or prefer not to vocalize. For the diary mission, instead of offering a choice between a video or a written response, we told people they can speak or sign in the video. The reason being that we discovered from the screener data that a written response is usually less rich than a video response, not only in the length of the words being said, but also in the lack of more contextual media information. So for those who did choose to sign, we collected information about in which language they signed, and we have hired an interpretation service for those. Even if we try to predict and accommodate for needs our participants may have, it's unavoidable that there are just things we cannot think of in advance. In that case, the best thing we can do is to be flexible. In the study overview, in addition to acknowledging people that they may choose to speak or sign their responses in the video question, we also told them that if they have difficulty recording or have any other issue, feel free to reach out. We ended up assisting multiple participants via the messaging feature on Dscout as shown in the right side chat bubbles, which with cases like participants can't upload videos without sound to participants hoping to leave the study in the middle due to personal life emergency. One participant from our study, who is 61 and has profound hearing loss, expressed how appreciative he is of the flexibility and choices we offered by saying that, I was pleasantly surprised that the study organizers offered me choices on accessibility, and the cherry on the ice cream was we have interpreters available to interpret your answers when I submitted my videos with my answers in American Sign Language. Providing accommodations and building trust are critical tasks to do for people to fully participate and open up. As mentioned earlier, we asked people not to hesitate to reach out to us if encountered any difficulty in the diary mission, and also offered alternatives of written responses and signing. The left side picture is an example of our participants showing her workspace while signing to explain. For the interview, we asked each participant in advance what they need to be able to participate as shown in the top right chat bubble. We ended up using an ASL interpretation service and also the live captioning card service so that our participants can, as said in the quote, have the quickest and deepest interaction with the researcher. Collecting all the rich data from the study, as a last step, we hope to make the insight sharing process as inclusive as possible. So after the VI study Dana conducted and the DHH study we just finished, we summarized some very common to-dos we encourage people to practice when creating their presentation materials. This includes providing all text to pictures, caption all videos, and try to provide audio descriptions whenever it's possible. During the presentation, remember to turn on the caption function and clarify who the audio is from if an interpreter is speaking on behalf of a deaf participant in a video. What we learned from our study is that you never know who your audience might have, and a little thing for you might help them a lot in understanding the content you are trying to present. So enough said with what we did at each stage. Let's take a quick look at some of our key findings and also the outcomes of the research study. The DHH study may use day-to-day, the DHH community may use day-to-day digital devices as assistive tools in ways we didn't imagine before. Phones and headphones are two common examples from the DHH study. One of our participants, Annie, who is 52 and has moderate hearing loss, explained how she uses her phone as an amplification system in the left side quote by using it to pick up people's voice and feed it back into her hearing aids directly. Some participants who are of more profound hearing loss may also use voice recognition apps like Otter to see what people are saying in text when they have to communicate with hearing people in the case that an interpreter is not around. For people who are of moderate hearing loss, it's common for them to use headphones as an assistive device, especially in the case of COVID when most people work remotely. So let's hear what Anna said about her headphone in the video.
The computer itself has, a speaker, and I could turn it up really loud if I needed to, but then I'm disturbing other people in my home. I prefer the headset because even if I just had it on the computer speaker, I would be doing this a lot, trying to, so with this, I can turn it up as loud as I want it to be. And then it's much easier to kind of press it a little closer to my ear. It's absolutely necessary because, I spend a lot of the day, going through records by myself, but then I spend a good 3 to 4 hours talking to people, and I need to be able to hear them. I know they can hear me because I'm super loud, but I need to be able to hear their responses, because if I don't, and let's say I hear something incorrect, I don't want to put it on an official form when it's not true, and that can impact whether or not a person gets their benefits because I put something wrong on the form.
So other than hearing the sound, seeing the sound in text is also critical for DHH users. Every one of our participants uses captioning, but it's far from perfect. The most common complaint we heard from our participants are inaccurate captioning. For example, when the video and captions are out of sync, or the auto speech recognition is just not accurate enough, especially when there is an accent. The next complaint is when no caption is available at all. For example, when the Zoom meeting host did not turn on the function. And lastly, bad caption design. Say the caption block key video content, or the font size and or color is not legible enough for people to read. Let's watch a highlight reel from Pete, who has severe hearing loss, demonstrate how inaccurate transcription apps may be. Every time when you hear him repeat something, it was him trying to make the app transcribe his words more accurately. Play the video.
I wanted to demonstrate to you what are my most important communication devices other than my hearing aid. My hearing aid. Hearing aid. It's not always accurate, as you can see. It's about 80% accurate. So let's try again. So other than my hearing aid, which I use 100% time for communication purposes, 100% of the time. Yes, that's right. I also use this accessibility feature on my Google Pixel. That's it, yes, Pixel. Android device, which comes with a accessibility feature called transcribe. Transcribe. T-R-A, there we go. Transcribe, yes, that's right.
From both the VI and DHH study, we also learned some useful tactics that we can apply to best minimize the risk of accident. Before the study, we advised to build in more time for recruitment, do pilot tests and tech checks to see if the assistive tools are compatible with the research platform, consider the extra time that might be needed for accommodations, connect with interpreters or any other service providers early to know their needs and any recommendations, and also send reminders to participants, especially when conducting a series of studies on different platforms. During the study, we suggest to build in extra time in case of any surprises, record everything, and check the data early to ensure that no key information is missed, and have a backup plan for communication in case the main way of communication fails. Next, I will hand over to Dana to talk about how helpful Dscout has been for us when conducting this kind of accessibility-related research.
Thanks, Peggy. I'll note that Dscout's original research lead, Karen Eisenhower, who you heard from a little earlier today, was our research partner on this study. And on the Dscout side, she also collected data on how accessible Scouts felt Dscout was in terms of their hearing loss. As noted here, Dscout got high marks, with most saying that their hearing loss did not affect their ability to complete the mission. Some scouts also noted that their mobile phones were way more accessible and they liked doing the study on their phones. And then, of course, one of the big insights from the study that Dscout acted on was the need for captions in their live tool. So, we're really excited to see that announcement was made today, that captions are now available. And here's just a quick screenshot of the Dscout team testing it out recently. We are so happy to see this addition to the platform, and we know how useful it's going to be for individuals who benefit from captions in an online environment. So in closing, we want to share some of the outcomes that came from this work that's helping us on our own accessibility journey and our move towards more universal design for research. There are some really exciting things in the product planning stages at Lenovo in terms of accessibility that I can't talk about at this time, but there are some immediate outcomes that we want to highlight. First is a more inclusive research process. That REE guideline that we came up with has been helping us to remember and is a good reminder for having multiple means of representation, expression, and engagement for our participants. Following this has really encouraged us to be more inclusive from the ground up in the research design phase, and is really, I think, fostering for us more inclusive thinking about how to interact with our participants in ways that work best for them, regardless of the ability. Certainly on the Dscout side, a more inclusive experience on the research platform. Thanks to the responsiveness of Dscout, there are captions now in the live tool. This will have an impact for our team as we'll have more one-stop shopping with that live tool. So that's really great. And then finally, at Lenovo, we've noticed an increased awareness of everyday accessibility internally after we've shared these data with different parts of the business. The impacts have been immediate, and it's been really exciting to see. Some of the examples, we've seen more engagement with using captions in internal videos and readouts, enabling captions and video and online video platforms as well. Employees actually describing images and meetings for individuals who can't see screens, and then also the addition of inclusive training courses for accessible PowerPoints and inclusive language. So that concludes our presentation, and we're also happy to take questions and also connect with you outside of the conference community. Please, we love talking about accessibility, and we're excited to share more of this information with the rest of the UX research community. Thanks so much.